All right, so today's lesson is an extension of what we've been learning about functions. So today we're going to determine if a relation is a function, and we're going to use 4 methods. The first method, we're going to determine whether each relation is a function, and we're just looking at the relation, which is a set of ordered pairs. Now remember, when we talked about a function, we said a function has no repeats in the domain. If there are repeats in the domain, it is not a function. So domain, x values. Are there repeats in the domain? No. So this is a function. My explanation is no repeats in the domain. Let's look at example B. Is this relation a function? Well, I have 15 in my domain and 15. So is there a repeat in the domain? Yes. So this is not a function. It has repeats in the domain. Looking at the last one, in my domain I have a 0, a 2, and a 0. Is this a function? No. Why? There are repeats in the domain. So that's one method you can use. Another method is when you're looking at a table of values, you want to make sure that you have no repeated x values, which means no repeats in the domain. Are there repeats? No. So this is a function. No repeats. What about here? Are there repeats in the domain or the x values? Yes. So this is not a function. Has repeats. Let's look at the last one. 33, 35, and 36. There are no repeats in the domain. There are repeats in the range, but that is okay. That does not determine whether or not it's a function. Just the domain does. So yes, this is a function. There are no repeats in the domain. Okay. Another method that we can use to determine if a relation is a function is called the vertical line test. And we use that typically when we have a graph. So if you look at example G, it is a graph. A vertical line is going straight up and down. So I'm going to draw a vertical line. Notice that my vertical line only touches my relation or my function one time. It doesn't matter where I move this vertical line, it only touches one time. So is this a function? Yes. The reason being is the vertical line only touches the graph one time. So passes vertical line test, VLT. Okay, let's use the ruler and check this one. Notice when I draw a vertical line, my vertical line touches the function here and here. So does this pass the vertical line test? Does the vertical line only touch the graph one time? No, this is not a function. Does not pass vertical line test. Last example. When I draw a vertical line, it touches the function 2 times. So is this a function? No, it's just a relation. Why? Again, does not pass vertical line test. And yes, you can abbreviate that VLT. Okay? The last thing that we do is look at a mapping. These are mappings. Very similar to tables of values. You want to make sure that you only have one arrow coming from any number in the domain. That means that there are no repeats. One arrow, no repeats. So there's one arrow coming from the -4, one arrow coming from the -8, one arrow coming from the +4, one arrow coming from the positive 5. So yes, this is a function. Why? Only one arrow per domain number. Let's look at this one. 4 has one arrow, 3 has one arrow, but 2 has 2 arrows. 2 is -5 and 2 is -4. So if I were to write that as an ordered pair, it would look like 2, -5 and 2, -4, which means it has repeats. So no, because it has 2 arrows from the number 2. So your homework today is actually on the flip side. You have 11 questions. You need to make sure that you explain your answer. Use the same explanations that I did. Draw your vertical lines. Circle if there are 2 items in the domain. No repeats in the domain means it's a function. Good luck.